We are continuing on Hilchot Shabbat, and we started the discussion of Hilchot Kosher Umatir, what knots and ties you can make on Shabbat, what you can't. And one of the most prevalent questions that comes up every single year is, can I tie my lulav on Yom Tov? Right? Many people have a minhag of forgetting on Erev Yom Tov to do it. It's a minhag kavua that goes few generations back. The Maran Chida actually speaks about this. Maran Chida in Moreh Be'etzba and his other Sfarim as well. He speaks about the fact he actually happens to be more mekel. He writes that a person could make a double knot with a leaf of lulav. They're the ones that they use right now. You make a string of a lulav leaf and you tie. He holds that you could do a double knot with that even on Yom Tov. Others disagree, and this becomes one of those questions that people, especially those who are always running late, Erev Chag, and always they find themselves the morning of Chag HaSukkot with all the Arba Minim, but they're not tied together. So this is a question. There's a mitzvah to tie the lulav and hadassim aravot together, and the best way of doing it is to do it in Erev Chag. Do the Erev Chag and you double knot it together, one on top of the other. And that's the mitzvah, like the Gemara says in Masechet Sukkah, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Bet, mitzvah av ze keli v'anvehu. Hitnai lefanav b'mitzvot. You don't want to just hold them together, you want to tie them together nicely and have a nice bundle, agudah echad. And if you didn't do it on Erev Yom Tov, right? Or you did it but it snapped or you got undone, then you should not be making a full kesher on Yom Tov, because that's a problem of making a kesher on Shabbat and Yom Tov. It's going to be a problem. So says Chacham Obadia, what you should do is do it with a bow tie, with a bow. You should not tie it to double knot, but you have a bow. And then you stick the ends underneath it. This way it will kind of like hold without unraveling, without opening. And that would be the way to do it. So he does not, even though that you're using the strings of lulav, he does not necessarily agree with the kula of Maran Chida that you could double knot the strings of lulav. But you do a bow tie and then you just stick the ends underneath the loop, and that hopefully will hold until you're done with your mitzvah. And after Shabbat you could change it and double knot it. How about one knot that you had from before Shabbat, and now on Shabbat you want to add another knot on it? Right, another knot you want to add. So say, I'm not making two knots on Shabbat. I'm just making one. The one was there before Shabbat. Of course, you cannot do that, because the problem is on the second one. Because the first one, if you do one knot, is going to unravel easily. The second one makes it fixed and makes it, stay a long time. And therefore, even though that you didn't do the first one on Shabbat, you're only doing the second one. Is going to be a problem. So now, this is also very relevant because of what happens with people's tzitzit, right? Many times, Shabbat morning you come and you see the second knot of the end of tzitzit is kind of like unraveled, is opening up, and you want to say L'Shem Mitzvah Tzitzit and just tie it a little bit, or not even say L'Shem Mitzvah Tzitzit, but you want to make it ready, and people mindlessly find themselves, tightening the top kesher. Is that a problem or is that not a problem? So the halacha is that's a serious problem. And therefore, kesher elyon shel tzitzit shenitrofef asur ladiko. You cannot tighten it on Shabbat. Now, shnei ksharim. Now imagine on weekday you made two knots on top of one another and you didn't think when you're going to open them. You didn't have in mind, I'm going to open this today, I'm going to open this week. And now all of a sudden you want to open them on Shabbat. So you say, well, any kesher that you can't make on Shabbat, you can't open on Shabbat. That we explained already, right? Based on the Rishonim and the Gemara, we explained the fact that you can't open any kesher that you cannot make it lechatchila on Shabbat. So what is the halacha of this type of kesher that you made the knot, not thinking anything specific when I'm going to open this up? Is that considered kesher shekayama? Or is that not considered kesher shekayama? That's zero mindset. Right? So one could argue, say, well, this is considered kesher shekayama because he had no intention of opening it anytime soon. Or one could say, well, he didn't have intention to leave it for any time long either. So which one is it, really? So the halacha would have it that it's mutar to open it on Shabbat. That's not considered kesher shekayama. Kesher shekayama, you need intention that you want it to stay for a certain period of time. And if you didn't have that mindset, no mindset at the time of kshira does not mean open-ended, but it means that it was not kesher shekayama, and therefore it would be mutar. Now, even though that it has been tied already for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, you say, well, it ended up being that I didn't open it for past month, and it should for sure be a problem. The answer is no. Because at the moment that you made this knot, you had no mindset to leave this for a month. You had zero mindset altogether. You just made a knot. And therefore, it's not considered kesher shekayama, even though there has been more than a week, still you could open it. Now, how about a knot and a bow on top of it? A knot and a bow, many people who tie their shoes, that's how they do it, right? They don't just make a double bow. Many people do a single bow on top of a regular knot, right? They make one this and then a bow on top of it. So is that mutar or is that asur? Right? It says asur. So the even though that we have a lot of respect for the Hamim over here, mutar likshor kesher v'aniva al gabav. It's mutar to tie and have a bow on top of it, even if you want it to stay. Even if you want it to stay, it will be mutar meikaratin. Now, yesh machmirim. There are those who are mahmir. We have some of them over here as well, right? Ve'tov la'achmir shelo likshor be'ofen zeh. It's better not to do such a thing. It's better not to do such a thing unless you want it to be opened up within a week. So we mentioned before that mikaradin we paskin that even if for a day is fine as long as not for a week. That's not kesher shekayama, and hence you don't want this type of a kesher to be a kesher shekayama. If you're making a bow on top of a knot, make sure that it is opened, and your mindset is to open it within the upcoming 7 days. But if you make an aniva without a kesher on the bottom, if you're not making the initial knot, just making a bow, then or you make a knot without a bow on top of it, just one single knot, then it will be mutar, even if you want it to stay until Mashiach comes, v'ad bichlal, still would be mutar. Right?
So the Shabbat Hali, why is that not okay? Because you want it to stay.
Yes, because you want it to stay forever.
But then all we want is both these cases are going to open regardless.
No, it's not necessarily. First of all, it's not. You could have it once you're at it. Parenthetically, a tip for fixing your talit that will never happen like this is when you buy a new talit. Make the half open the kesher, the 2 ksharim on the top, right? Just loosen them. Pour hot water, boiling hot water on it, or just dip it for 10 seconds into hot boiling water, and then tighten them as it's wet and hot, and let it dry, and hopefully it will never open again, right? On its own. It'll just take that form, and it'll stay tight and nice for a long time. So that would be certainly don't do that on Shabbat, right? That's for sure. But when you tighten the top knot, even without this method, you want it to stay. So that definitely is kesher shekayama in that way, right? Now, one more halacha here. when you talk about tying shoes, if you did a kesher and an aniva, so the regular knot and a bow on top, or even if you had two knots on top of one another, right? Mutar la'atilo b'leil Shabbat k'shecholes min alav. You could open that on Friday night when you're taking off your shoes. ואישה מותרת לקשור שני קשרים בשבת במטפחת ראשה שעליה. And another kula is that a woman that is tying her head wrap and needs to, one knot's going to open right away, right? One knot's going to open right away. So can I do two knots and I want to open it tonight, right? Mamash tonight. So we mentioned that maybe, generally speaking, we don't want to do two knots on top of each other because maybe that's considered kesher shekayama and so on. So this is a topic that we have to talk about. And the Ben Ish Chai slightly disagrees with Chacham Obadia in this case. So I'm going to let the background of this be discussed B'ezrat Hashem in the beginning of the next shiur. So we'll continue this in B'ezrat Hashem in the days to come.